Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Rangers Review morning briefing for Thursday, the 29th of February. It's a leap year, of course. I'm Derek Clark, and to look back on yesterday's 2-1 win over Kilmarnock at Rugby Park is Chris Jack, fresh from his trip over there to Ayrshire. Late one for you, Chris, last night?
It was quite the night all round. It was a hugely significant result for Rangers, a dramatic way to win it, as we'll get into. I think the manager spoke really well last night once again. Big interview with Jack Butland coming on the site tonight and tomorrow morning as well. So plenty to get our teeth into once again. But no, a great night for Rangers and potentially defining one. And if it does prove to be that case, then all the late nights will certainly prove worth it over the course of the season.
Yep, certainly. If we're holding that trophy aloft come the end of the campaign, you'll look back on the adverse weather conditions at Rugby Park and coming from behind to defeat Derek McInnes's side 2-1. That's for sure. Real test of mentality and character last night, and Rangers overcame that hurdle. Before we look at the game in more detail, just a quick word for our podcast sponsors, the MPH Group. If you're looking for home improvements, folks, you know the drill by now. These are the guys to call. And also on the little ticker below, I've not mentioned this for a wee while, but if you want to subscribe to the Rangers Review website, now is the time to do so. You can take advantage of a couple of great offers, either £18 for an entire year, or you can take out an offer, £4 for 4 months, $2.99 per month thereafter. Two brilliant offers. Loads of you have taken advantage of it already. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe for all the details. There's some great pieces on there, as Chris says, a piece to look forward to as well coming up. Right, Chris, let's talk about last night then. It was certainly a game of two halves, as the old saying goes. Kilmarnock taking the lead, a penalty given against John Lundstrom. Got to say, I've watched it about 600 times now, and I think it's very harsh on Lundstrom. I can understand why it's been given, but we've seen one recently when Celtic went down there. Alistair Johnston, very similar body angle, and a penalty wasn't given. But Kilmarnock awarded a penalty. Up stepped Danny Armstrong, and he finished it, knocking it into the back of the net. Rangers were out of sorts in that first half, lacklustre, didn't really get going. I know Borna Barisic came in for a bit of criticism. I still can't see where he's been clipped just prior to that goal when he goes down near the corner flag. He had a bit of a nightmare in that first half and was hooked at the break. Ridvan coming on, and Fabio Silva, who never really got into the game, also replaced for Cyril Dessers. Rangers much improved in that second half, and James Tavernier with another fantastic free kick. He always steps up when Rangers are in trouble, more often than not, and sending one curling into the corner. Goalkeeper got a touch, but he couldn't keep it out, and it wouldn't be long before Rangers were ahead when Tom Lawrence smashed one into the corner after good pressing. And Jack Butland as well deserves credit for an outstanding save at the beginning of that first half. I know Josh has done a bit of analysis on it already, and the Kilmarnock boy should have scored. Matty Kennedy had a 0.88 post-shot XG, which for those of you that are into your XG means that that shot was expected to go in 88 times out of 100. So Butland stepping up when it mattered. Two contentious decisions near the end, two potential handballs. And stoppage time one from Stuart Finlay when it hits his arm under pressure from Cyril Dessers, and then Lewis Mayo with an outstretched arm and the ball hitting off his hand, but no penalties were given. I know Bobby Madden has had his say as well. Lots to unpack, Chris, but what did you make of it all last night?
It was all a bit frantic, all a bit hectic, all a bit nervous. I think the scenes after the two goals, and certainly at the end of the game, summed it up. It was a huge night for Rangers. We spoke last week about this double-header against Hearts and Killie, two form sides in the division, and said, like, if they can take care of both of these, you've then got a slightly easier. There's no easy games, and certainly at this stage of the season, when there's as much riding on them, nothing can be taken for granted. But these two games felt like potentially defining ones for Rangers. They blew Hearts away really emphatically. Brilliant performance at the weekend. Last night was a very different performance, a very different occasion to come from behind, to produce that second half performance when chips are down, when you know, as much as you're focusing on yourself, when you know what's happening elsewhere. It was a huge psychological night for Rangers. I think the manager mentioned the Club TV pre-match that it could be a statement win if they could go there and get the result. A couple of hours later, I think it was definitely a statement win. It just felt different. It wasn't just a normal 3 points last night. As I think the scenes at the end, I guess summed it up. I think players, fans, and manager knew just how important a win that was last night.
Yeah, it was absolutely huge, and fair play to the manager. I think he didn't get his team selection right to begin with, but he sorted it at half-time. It wouldn't have surprised me if he hooked Borna, especially after he received that yellow card. He was well off it last night. Ridvan coming in, and Rangers just looked much better, you've got to say. What are your feelings on Borna? Lots of comments coming in on him, Chris, saying that listen, I think he will still contribute between now and the end of the season, but Ridvan now, the bona fide first choice left back, I want to see him play and start as many games as he possibly can.
Very much so. I think we spoke about Barisic pre-match on the video. He was one of the names that kind of stood out in the team lineup when the sides were announced. And I think people's fears over it were always played out in that first stage of the game. Don't know what he's doing in the build up to the first one. Just stick it back to the keeper, stick it in the stand, do anything apart from whatever he was trying to do. And after that, never really recovered, never got into it. And the fact that Ridvan then appeared on the touchline at half-time was no surprise. Rangers looked far more accomplished with Ridvan in the side. I know there's comments coming in, people saying, "Oh, Borna should never play for us again, and hope that's his last game." That's not realistic. We've got 10 league games to play, Scottish Cup to go and try and win, and who knows what the European campaign is going to bring. So you can't just throw someone out with his experience. I know his form has gone up and down. People question various aspects, but there only is 2 left backs within the squad. Ridvan, he's going through a good spell in terms of proving that he's robust and he can put the games together. But it's a really big ask to say, look, you need to go and play more than a dozen games on the spin now potentially. So it's not realistic to say, right, Borna will never play for us again. Is it realistic to say he probably won't get a contract for next year? I think that's right. I think we're now coming to the end of Barisic's Rangers career. I don't think many fans would be overly upset at that. But he is going to have a part to play. He will have a part to play over the coming weeks because, as the manager keeps saying, it's very much a squad game. The squad showed its worth last night. I think the manager got his team wrong, but he rectified that at half-time, made 2 changes that made a big difference to the side. Fair play to him for that. So there's guys, I think as we spoke about earlier on in the week, there's a lot of rotation in certain areas of the team. Some guys are a bit more nailed on than others. Butland, obviously. Tav, obviously. Goldson, obviously. I think Ridvan is now fallen into that category. You play him as much as he's physically able to do. That's not to say you run him into the ground and he plays every minute of every game. But I think more often than not, Ridvan has to play because he is just he's a left back in far superior form right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and long may it continue. That little fall at the corner flag, of course, it led to the opening goal, which was the penalty that was given. You've seen it back as well, Chris. What was the view in the press gantry at that moment in time? Was it the overriding feeling that it was maybe a harsh one to give it against John Lundstram? Can you see why it was given?
I think on first viewing in real time, I can understand why it was given. As the game was on Sky last night, it was hard to get instant replays when we were filing last night to get a proper second look at it. Having seen it again, I can see why it's been given, but I think Lundstrom's a bit unlucky. It looks as if it's been given from where the arm ended up rather than where the ball actually happened, because when he jumps, it's not as if his arms are outstretched as certain other ones have been over the course of the season. And last night, he's jumped and his arms are tucked in, but his arm does then kind of flail after the ball has hit it, and it looks as if it's caught him while it's quite outstretched. So I think that's probably cost him. Grand scheme of things, I don't think it's a massive injustice. If you challenge like that, I think there's always a danger that you're going to get penalised. As I said, the build up to it was poor. completely avoidable. But I don't think it's a huge injustice. I can see why that one was given. Certainly in real time, I think when you slow it down and you look at the stills, it looks worse, and you can then make a case against it. But I think that's the ones that you're going to. I think that's when you do go in like that, you always can run that risk, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's take the 2 Rangers penalty calls as well then, because I know the manager did bring it up in his post-match press conference. He brought up the John Lundstrom penalty call, and also the non-penalty call in the second half for Rangers. This is what he said, folks. He says, one thing to add, we had a penalty given against us, but we could have had an easier last 5 minutes if we'd also been given a penalty. I want to hear the reason why they give the first penalty and the second not. That's really not clear for me. So we go back to the story about handballs. I hope you guys can explain something about that, because it was a really weird situation again for me. I mentioned at the top of the show, Bobby Madden's come out and tried to explain, obviously a former referee, about why the 2 Rangers penalties weren't given. I can understand the reasoning for the Stuart Finlay one, where it hits off one part of his body onto his arm, even though he obviously blatantly handballs it in the box. I get why that one wasn't given. The Lewis Mail one is a head scratcher, Chris, for me, because it's more of a penalty than the John Lundstrom one. I can see why the Rangers manager is a bit perplexed why that one wasn't given. If we get VAR, I mean, the guys in the booth should surely call the referee over to the monitor to make an assessment on that one. But a bit puzzled why it didn't do that. What's your feeling on it?
I think Bobby Madden's called all of them right this morning. He makes a point in regard to the first one, actually. Why was it that the still image of where the point, as we're talking there about the point of contact on the John Lundstrom one, he makes the point of why wasn't that still image then presented? He says, no, if it's costing the clubs over £1 million a year for this system, why wasn't it then used in that scenario? The manager's point post-match was, well, if that one's a penalty, why is the one in the same penalty box an hour or so later, why is that not a penalty? And it's hard to disagree. At first viewing, I don't think there's a huge outcry for it. There doesn't. I watched it again this morning. There's not loads of appeals from the Rangers players and from the fans behind that goal. But when you see it again, it's a stone waller. There's no excuse for it. And again, why is that image then not being picked out, and why is that image then not being presented to the referee? I said the manager brought it up a couple of times in his post-match presser last night. Clearly bemused by the whole situation, and looking for answers. So it'll be interesting to see how Rangers going to pursue that, if they ask for clarification or if they write to the SFA. We'll try and find out over the course of the day if Rangers are going to take that matter further. But as I was saying to Josh as we were walking out the ground last night, was it last weekend that Hibs got the apology for the one up at Pittodrie? You would like to think it's been looked into by the SFA this morning, because something somewhere, both on-field decision and the VAR interpretation of it has gone awry there. The Dessers one, again, I think Bobby's called that one right. I think that would have been harsh. But the second one, as the manager said last night, if you're going to give the Lundstrom one, the second one has to follow. The second one is more blatant and more obvious than the Lundstrom one. And the still image of that one, it's as clear as day, and it should have been presented. Because as Kilmarnock said, if you then get that chance, it's a very different last 5 minutes. It takes all the sting out. It takes all the anxiety out of it, and it allows us to start writing our intros and get our stuff filled, which is also the most important thing. But it should have been presented. I don't see how you can say that's not a penalty. It's a stonewall one. So I said we'll try and find out if Rangers are going to take that particular issue any further over the course of the day.
Yeah, I've said this before. We hear from managers who come out and have to explain performances and what have you, and we hear from players after each game. It's about time we heard from, if it's not, I mean, I understand why the referee doesn't come out after games, but Crawford Allen, someone, a referee assessor, just to explain the big calls and why they went the way that they did so. There's so much money in the game, as you mentioned, Chris. Lots of money spent on VAR. Just give us an explanation. We can disagree with it, but just that transparency, I think, is what we're looking for. Even if you come out and hold your hands up, I very much doubt that will ever happen. But say it was made a mistake on that occasion. We've seen, of course, recently when an individual report listed the number of errors on the VAR calls in the recent batch of games. But we had to wait a good couple of months, I think, before we got those errors. But I'd like to see something more regular. I think that would do the game the world of good, and it would put this sort of those penalty calls, the decisions, well, it just answered a lot of questions, I think, if we came out and explained the reasoning and the thought process behind not giving it. But I was perplexed as to why Rangers never got that penalty last night. Anyway, they managed to hold on. The other big points in that second half, of course, Jack Butland's save, as we mentioned, another top drawer stop from him. I thought he was magnificent again last night. James Tavernier, Chris, when he just got that free kick, there's just something I believed he was going to score, which is utterly incredible to think. I mean, it was, 25 yards out? And you just believe that he's going to at least hit the target from these sort of distances. And once again, leading by example, getting the team out of a hole, and it really turned the game on its head.
It's the role of a captain. Now you're there to lead by example. You're there to stand up and be counted in the big moments. You're there to produce when the team needs you. And how many times has James Tavernier done that over the course of his Rangers career? It was a huge moment last night because you got the feeling really early on in that second half, Rangers had to score quickly. They had to give themselves something, had to give themselves a chance. If it gone another 10 minutes or so without that breakthrough coming, there's every chance the game just peters out, and it doesn't happen. I mean, we're having a very different conversation this morning. It was a moment that, as I say, Tav has produced so often. Brilliant free kick, brilliant technique, gave the keeper no chance. And it was interesting that as soon as it hits the back of the net, there's no wild celebrations, there's no running to the fans. It's get the ball, get back, let's get on. I thought that the second goal actually summed up that mentality and that the way that the team's playing right now. It was quick. It wasn't, well, you get the free kick and then you wait for everyone to get in position and we'll bring Borna up and he can swing it to the back post and miss everyone. It was Lawrence being alert to the situation, Desser's been alert, Lawrence then being alert again to follow it in and finish off. I thought that both goals were, for very different reasons. Both goals were really, really quality moments, but the Tav one, it sums up his Rangers contribution once again this season. It's a type of moment you need. Big players in big moments. Tav produced 10 minutes earlier. Jack Butland produces with that terrific save. And if Rangers are going to get over the line this season, you need players like that. So you stand up and you be counted. You do things that other people do. You don't wait for someone else to do it. You go and do it yourself. And Tav takes that responsibility on his shoulders time after time. And so once again last night he stepped up and he delivered when it really, really mattered for Rangers.
Yeah, he certainly did. That's an incredible 20 goals for the season for the captain. And Neil McLean says plus 10 assists, I think, as well. It's unbelievable, really, from him. I make him, incidentally, I know you've seen that the rankings about him being one of the highest scoring defenders in the world. And I think Graham Alexander is still registered as the highest scoring defender in UK football, but I'm not having that. He did play midfield for Scunthorpe for a fair bit of his career. I remember when we brought it up, I was in a Bolton press room and we're discussing Tavernier and his goal-scoring exploits, and folk that watched Alexander a lot said that he did play in midfield a lot, so I'm having Tavernier as a top dog, but it won't be long before he surpasses Alexander in the official stakes anyway. Another outstanding contribution from the captain last night. Tom Lawrence, as you mentioned as well, Chris, getting what would turn out to be the winning goal. I loved a little clip last night from Rangers TV put out of not only the goal itself, but the lead up to it as well. We're now seeing quick throw-ins, quick free kicks, and there's a real urgency to Rangers, whereas not so long ago, it would take an age to take these sort of things.
No, as I said there, it sums up the way that Clement wants his side to play. It's just it's quicker, it's sharper, it's more rock and roll football, if you like, to coin an old phrase. That goal wouldn't have been scored in that manner early on in the season. So Rangers would have won the free kick out there. They would have allowed everyone to come up, brought the centre halves up. Barisic would have come up and swung it in. Barisic would have missed everyone with it. Tav would probably hit the first man with it, and the phase of play would have been gone. But it encapsulates the style of play that the manager has brought in. And fair play to Tom Lawrence. It was a really, really accomplished finish because it broke to him. He was alert to it.
Yeah,
right place, right time, following the play in. Found the far corner by a great finish. Great scenes in the away end afterwards. I said the celebrations then really told their own story. And again, the goal came at a really, really good time for Rangers because they were also in the ascendancy after the free kick from Tav, getting that second goal within 5-6 minutes. Put them in the driving seat. You knew that the onslaught was going to come from Kelly towards the end. You knew that it was going to be long throws and they were going to fire the ball into the box. Fair play to Rangers for the way that they defended those situations, but they were only able to do that because they'd given themselves that platform. They hadn't rested. They got the first one, immediately went on the search for the second one. A third one would have been nice, could have happened. There's the penalty shouts. There's a Diomande one, I think, he curled just wide as well. Dessers and build up to that penalty shout could easily just have hit it and got a shot away a bit earlier. So there was chances there. It could have been more comfortable for Rangers. But I think that there's a lot the manager can take from the way that they responded at the break, got the first goal, responded really well after that to get the second, and then were able to manage the game and see it out.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to a few of the points that are coming in. This one from Craig Hamilton. There's a few comments, incidentally, on this. He says, any news on Cortez? We've seen him hobbling off, Chris, holding the back of his hamstring. Didn't look good. And let's hope, the manager was asked about it in his post-match press conference. He was asked, how is he? No idea for the moment. It's really early. We'll see tomorrow or the day after to make a good assessment about them, if he was tired or it is more. Let's hope not, because we are missing already enough players. That is something to work on in the next months for sure, and the preparation for next season. That'll be a big blow if he is out for several weeks. Let's hope he isn't. Chris, any sort of words after full time about the severity of that at all?
No other update apart from what the manager said post match last night. Josh asked him about it in the presser, and he also just read out the answer. So I think it'll be today at some point, or perhaps even tomorrow by the time we get a bit more clarity on that. The manager also do his presser around about lunchtime or so tomorrow, so I'm sure it will come up. It'll be one of the talking points. It would be a huge blow. I thought Cortez had a couple of difficult moments early on last night. Maybe taking a bit of time to adjust to Kilmarnock. Basically just taking a bit of time to get used to where he was. But he's really direct. He's really dynamic. Not afraid to have a pop at goal from distance, which I like about him. And overall, I think he's made a really, really impressive impact so far at Rangers. So with Matondo still out, and obviously Sima still being out, I asked the manager about that on Tuesday at the press conference, and he said, look, we're still working on the same timescales. So it would be another real blow because it leaves Rangers short in that area of the side. You're then maybe looking at McCausland switching over, Sterling coming in on the right, or they just play Sterling on the left because he can play anywhere he wants, obviously. So just stick him in there. So I think it would be a huge blow. Hopefully it's just a precaution. The manager said last night, is it tiredness or is it something more serious? Considering how the season has unfolded for Rangers and their luck and their record with injuries, we're all rightly fearing the worst because that's just how things have unfolded. I think they're due a slice of luck on the injury front, so hopefully that comes true.
Yeah, absolutely love Dujon, as are all the supporters at this moment in time. Wherever he's asked to play, he does so at a superbly high level, and he did again last night when he came on. So, fantastic stuff. There was a comment as well, an interesting one. Obviously, across in the east end of Glasgow, they were putting Dundee to the sword rather easily, especially in that first half. 6-0 at half-time, which is quite incredible. But at half-time, they'd have been looking over at the score in Ayrshire, Chris, and thinking this is an opportunity. They were top of the division for a period of time. But those 2 goals is what it's all about. They would have left it a tad. They would have been happy with their team's performance, but dejected at the fact that that Rangers are back top of the division. World's greatest DJ gets in touch. Must have crushed their rivals when last night's results came through. That's what it's all about, of course, as Philip Clement touched on when he was asked about being involved in title races, and that brilliant answer about getting his players' 9-game ban rescinded. He says you look at this stupid stuff when you're in a title race, and it's all about keeping your focus on the job in hand, and that's certainly what Rangers did last night, isn't it? But I expect this sort of stuff between now and the end of the season. Celtic, of course, going to Tynecastle at the weekend. Rangers at home to Motherwell. We'll be keeping one eye on games elsewhere as well. But we're well and truly in a title race. 10 games to go, Chris. It's been the first time in a long time we've had the title as close as this. But yeah, it's certainly exciting. I wouldn't say it's entirely enjoyable at times. Certainly that first half wasn't the case. But it's good to have a title race back again, isn't it?
It's going to free the nerves a wee bit over the next 10 games. It's great for business, but it's great to be involved in. I think, as we said last week, it's been a long time since we've had a proper title race, because even the one 55 season, Rangers won that an absolute canter, and it was wrapped up after months of that season as Celtic unfolded, imploded, unravelled, however you want to put it. It's going to be a lot tighter this season. Obviously, 10 to go, 2 Old Firm games to go. Celtic, as you say, going to Tynecastle at the weekend. Rangers now with a very, very winnable run. Attention's already perhaps drifting a wee bit to the Old Firm game at Ibrox, and what a win there would do. But the manager has been very, very clear on this over the last few weeks. It is this one game at a time. It is this next 90 minutes. He's not going to get ahead of himself. He's not going to say anything daft. He knows, as he outlined there, his pre-match presser. He knows how to win things. He knows how to get over the line. And that experience, that know-how, that knowledge will really stand Rangers in good stead. There's a lot of football to be played. Anything can happen in this title race. But I think the one thing we can always bank on is that Rangers have the right man in the dugout. That's not to guarantee they're going to win the league. I don't think anyone can say Rangers will win the league. They've given themselves a shot, and for so much of the first stage of the season, that just seemed completely wild. The press guy spoke to Jack Butland last night, and he made the point before we started. He was standing in that almost exact same spot, first day of the season, coming to terms with a defeat. And people that afternoon, one game in, would have said this side under Michael Beale is not going to go and win the title. Under Michael Beale, it would not have done. It wouldn't have got anywhere near it. Under Clement, it's got every chance of going on and doing something really special this season. So it's great. It's great to be involved in. It's going to be a really, really intense, interesting, exciting, nervous. Any description you want to throw at it. It's going to be some few weeks, but you just need to enjoy the ride, and hopefully it all works out well.
Yeah, a few of the comments coming in. First of all, Neil Jameson says they've got to give credit to McInnes with what he's done at Killie. Absolutely. He's got them firing. He's a good manager, Derek McInnes, and he's certainly turned around the fortunes of Kilmarnock. Where it was a tad concern going there, given that their form of late. But Rangers done the business, and good to see Big Phil tuning in this morning as well. Morning, Phil. He says, one game at a time, my beautiful Bears. Jim Cunningham with the point. What's the game after Motherwell? Of course, we go to Benfica after Motherwell. In terms of the league game, it will be Dundee on the 17th of March at Dens Park. Of course, Motherwell on Saturday. The Benfica a week today, of course, and then the Hibs quarter-final in the Scottish Cup on the following Sunday. Then the return leg against Benfica Thursday, the 14th of March. Remember, an early kickoff for that one, 5:45, and then back to league action up at Dens Park on the 17th of March. So certainly plenty of games to look forward to. James Strachan, just as I mentioned there, Celtic going to Tynecastle at the weekend. He says Shankland may still help Rangers to win the league. I just wanted to bring this up because his celebration last night was absolutely superb. A guy, Edmund Darby, of course, scored. Hibs fan chucked a pie at him. He grabbed it out of the air, took a bite, and chucked it back where it came from. Chris, have you seen a celebration like that before?
It was quite something. Fair play to him for the catch. It was a great catch, one that Jack Butland himself would have been proud of. Obviously, you can't have on a serious point. You can't have fans throwing things at players, and the guy that did it is obviously completely out of order. You can't be doing that, and it's obviously something we have to. But no, fair play to Shankland for the way that he handled it. It was a nice light-hearted moment, and certainly one that will no doubt rack up a few social media views and likes over the course of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully, he scores 1 or 2 goals at the weekend as well. Right, folks, that'll do us there. Huge thanks to everyone for interacting with the show as ever. Just a reminder, over on the website, a great piece from Joshua on last night's game. Do go and check it out. We've got the 2 offers on just now, £4 for 4 months, £2.99 per month thereafter, or you can take a year subscription, £18 for an entire year. Head over to rangersreview.co.uk/subscribe to sign up. Those of you who are members of the YouTube channel as well, you might have seen a little video that popped up this morning. Spoke to a Rangers fan who lives over near Lisbon, and he's a Benfica season ticket holder. So he gave us a bit of insight into Benfica, what we can expect next week, and where you should be going if you're heading out to Lisbon as well. Ian McAllister, he was on cracking form, so do go and check it out, folks. We will be back again tomorrow when it will be press conference day ahead of the game against Motherwell. So we hope you can join myself. I think it'll be Joshua that's on. I'm not sure if you're on as well, Chris. Am I not? Yeah, you're right. You're on as well tomorrow.
I may well turn up. I'll still be in a good mood, so I may well just come on just to see what's happening.
Yeah, good, super stuff. Right, folks, enjoy the rest of your Thursday, and we'll speak to you a little later on. Bye for now.